Welcome back, everybody. First off, let me apologize for getting the tutorials out so late, but I've been struggling with this on end. And due to the fact that I've encountered so many problems while creating a live USB for a Mac, I do not recommend this setup at all. But since so many of you have asked for the procedure, I'm gonna give it to you anyway. Be warned that you can permanently damage your Mac, that it can literally go down, that the only thing that you will be able to do afterwards is reinstall it. So I would advise you to get a backup, and if you absolutely don't have to do this, I wouldn't recommend it. That's what I'm trying to say, is it can cause a lot of problems for you, and it can be a very painful experience. I will set out the procedure I have simplified it somewhat, and you don't have to go through the forums and so on and so forth. Hopefully that is, so you will be able to do it, but be warned. I wish to build a fence around myself here, so to say. On a 2013 and newer Macs, this shouldn't be a problem at all. You will be able to do a fairly simple procedure, a lot simpler than this. But on older Macs, I'm afraid that the procedure is somewhat different and a bit more complicated, and does carry in it with an inherent risk that you might mess your Mac up permanently. So you will have to reinstall and do stuff like that. Just a suggestion. Anyway, for 2013 Macs, I'm not going to go through that as it's fairly simple. You need a Mac Linux USB loader. You can get it from Sven's Hub, I think. This is Unibooten. We're going to need that for later, but first off, let's go with the USB loader. So Mac USB loader, Sven's Bits, GitHub, and there you go. So you can get it from here. Just download it. That's it. You all know how to download a file, and you see it here, it's in the downloads folder. Move it to your applications folder, so it should be here. I assure you it is here, and just can't find it. There we go. So Mac Linux USB loader, so you can see it there, and I have the Mac ports up above. So it says Mac Linux USB loader. You won't be able to start it or use it until, or at least I don't believe that you will be able to do it until you actually go into System Preferences, Security and Privacy, unlock this, and then allow apps downloaded from anywhere to run, basically. So you will need to toggle this. This might put your computer at somewhat of a risk, but hey, as I said, this is not a recommended procedure at all. So go ahead and close this. Just fire up Mac Linux USB Creator, and here you have a persistence manager, you have a create live USB. All you need really is an image, and just use this tool to create it and then boot it. It should work without any problems on 2013 and newer MacBook Pros. I didn't really intend to go through the detailed steps here, as it's not that required. I will show you how to format a USB, and you will need to format a USB in a proper manner regardless of whether you are on 2012 and older Macs or 2013 and newer Macs. Completely irrelevant. You will still need to format the USB drive, so keep that in mind. And these down below, so you can set the USB up. See, I have one, but there's really no need to use that, as you can just go and say create a live USB, double click on it, select the ISO file. Come on, load, please. Downloads, thank you. So just select the ISO file that you have downloaded from the net, click on open, and you select a device which you want here, and you go on next, and you click on begin installation. Once it's done, reboot the Mac. Actually, don't reboot it, power it off and then power it back on, and select the additional option that you get. So that should work really without any problems. I have tested it out and it does work, but what I have realized that it does not work is the procedure for MacBook Pros that are older than 2012. 2012 is a borderline year, so on some it might work from 2012, on some it might not, I don't know, but anything older, this procedure will apply. The very first thing that you need to do is, as I said, consider the year of your MacBook Pro. Mine is 2011, and then you need to have a functioning USB. Make sure that it is functional and not defective or anything like that. Recommended size should be I have my 32 gigs, which is something that you can use, something that I would recommend, just to make sure that you're not out of space at all. And I have another one which I will use for this demonstration, which is 64 gigs. It might take you a while to format larger ones, but there really is no reason or need to go over 32 gigs at all. In regard to the persistent storage on 2011 and older, it's somewhat tricky. I haven't managed to do that. I have asked so many friends and read through so many forums. I went to hell and further, and then I walked some more. And I went to the Apple service as well. I was perfectly willing to pay them to see what they can do about it. And they actually did try to do it, but they also have failed miserably. So they didn't charge me anything for it, which is nice. And they also... Then I went to some other acquaintances, and we finally managed to get some sort of a hybrid state working, where you have one bootable partition, which is non-persistent, and you have another partition which is ext4 format, and then you can save whatever you want there, whatever files you want, which is very nice if you want to download files and store them, but also is very nice if you want to keep your configuration. So what you can do is make small configuration scripts, or one big configuration script that you just run once every time you boot the machine up, so it configures the live image the way you want it to be. So you don't have to manually enact changes. I don't think it's a huge hindrance. Basically, once you make the script, you just add commands to it, and you just need to click it once or run it once in order to basically have your setup configured the way you want it to be configured. On your Macs, I'm pretty sure it shouldn't be a problem of any kind or sort. So let's go ahead and proceed with this tutorial and see how this works out and see what we can actually do and accomplish. Be warned, it can mess your Mac up to the point where you need to reinstall it. Keep that in mind before you decide to go through this procedure. Think twice. I'm serious. Anyway, go out onto the net, open up your browser, and find this site. It's unetbooten.github.io. Well, here, let's just type it in. unetbooten, and if I just, I don't want this one. unetbooten. Just do it from the search, and there you go. The first one that pops out is HTTPS. Make sure it's HTTPS. It's unetbooten.github.io. Open it up, click on download for Mac OS X. I've already downloaded it. It's in my downloads folder. So once you click on it, it's going to go into your downloads folder. And hopefully you have went into settings and allowed the applications to install and run from anywhere. As I said, that puts your computer to somewhat of a risk, but that is a necessary step. Keep in mind, I have stated before and I am restating it, it's not a recommended configuration. Anyway, Now that that is done, go over to your downloads folder and find unetbooten. There you go, it's right there. That is the tool that we shall need. That is the only thing that you need to download from the net, from the sites. The rest of the files I will provide in the rest of the files I will provide on Udemy, from where you can actually download them and use them. So let's go ahead and leave that there for the time being and go into our disk utility. Well, here I can actually close it just to show you. Oh, it actually closes. You've noticed that things on Mac just don't tend to close the way you want them to close. They just get minimized, but okay, no big deal. So command space and search for disk utility. Press enter. Open it up. At the moment I have two USBs plugged in, and I'm not gonna wait for the burning to complete because that would take forever. It took me forever anyway, but I will show you what to do and how to do it. Well, I only have Toshiba, but why isn't the transcendent detected? Is it detected? No, it's not. Okay, let's plug it out. Let's plug it back in. Come on. Ah, there we go. So both of them are hooked up. I'm using a USB hub on the other end to plug multiple things in because Macs suffer apparently from a chronic lack of ports, which is annoying beyond belief. But okay, no problems. Anyway, over here is the USB port which we shall be playing, and down below is another USB which I will use to show you where the files are stored. Actually, I can use both of them. So what you need to do is first go ahead and hit the Toshiba one, and state that you want to erase it. So we're going to go over to erase, and it says MS-DOS fat name untitled. You can change the name. Let's call it Kali or Kali, and I just leave it at Kali. You can call it whatever you want. Feel free. Go, let your imagination go. And we're going to go ahead and state erase. So warning me that I have two partitions which will get erased. So yeah, I'm fine with that. Can't unmount the disk. Why can't you unmount the disk? Injected. No, not inject, just unmount. Where is it? Untitled. What is using it? Okay, so this might happen to you as well, so I'm just leaving it in the tutorial. The disk untitled one could not be injected because the terminal is using it. Okay. How is the terminal using it, I wonder? Or maybe I was in the folder or something. Because terminal is using it. I am not using it. Oh, right. Okay, so I might be making a complete fool of myself here. But I'm just gonna go ahead and try to do it one more time here, and then I'm gonna go into basically forcefully ripping it out. Force quit. Yes, please, leave. There we go. So it is out, and now we no longer have it here, which is not something we want, so we're just gonna take it out and then plug it back in and see will that help out. Okay, Toshiba. So let's go ahead and click on it, go into erase, 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 and unmounting. Come on, please be successful. Okay, it's formatting the disk. Eventually it should finish. There we go, it is done. So the part we have erased it once, and now we're going to go into partitions. let's go choose two partitions, and we're gonna label the first one. I'm gonna give the first one like 9 gigs, even though that's not gonna be usable probably, but doesn't really matter. And the second one is whatever remains, doesn't really matter at all. So whatever the second one is, that's what the second one is, whatever space remains. I'm gonna go ahead and click on apply. These partitions, okay, so just state partition and let it go. Let it finish. Shouldn't this part shouldn't take long. The other part can hang for quite a while, and it can be annoying, pretty annoying. Now the next thing that we need to do is actually mess around with the second partition, but we are going to do that later on. For the time being, we're just going to deal with the first partition, and we're going to attempt to create a bootable USB on the first partition of the drive. So we no longer need this. Now I would like you to go back into downloads where our unetbooten is stored. Unetbooten, there we go. So just start it. It's gonna request for your permission. Give it, if you want, that is 53, whatever. I don't really care about my passwords here anyway, they're just nonsense. I will reformat this whole drive, this whole computer, because I've done so much stuff to it just to get this to work. It would just take way too long to fix it manually. And okay, don't need VirtualBox at the moment. Is unetbooten fired up? Please tell me that it is. Right here. Okay, so we have unetbooten here, and we're gonna say disk image, ISO, select the disk image. I'm assuming that you have downloaded Kali from the net. Here it is. If you haven't, I mean, I always show this. I don't think less of you, but I always like to show it just in case, because always somebody will ask, like, if they skip a tutorial or two, where can I download? Even though I have showed it in the previous tutorials, just go to Kali Linux, press enter, and look, it says here, go into download, and there you go. So you can download it from here. You can download the ISO, or if you have a torrent client, you can just go via torrent, just click on it, on the ISO, and that's it. If you have a torrent, you can go with the torrents as well, a client that is. Okay, so let's go ahead and select the AMD64 ISO, say open. It says USB drive, make sure to select the right one. Don't take the wrong drive. This can be detrimental in the worst of senses. Pop up the terminal. Type in, I'm just gonna go ahead and clear the screen, and then I'm gonna do this util list. So disk 1 says untitled 1, untitled 2. Actually, we could have renamed them, but I don't really care. You can do so if you wish. And this is the one that we need. So disk 1 and disk 1 S1, that's the one that we really want. So let's go ahead and select that. Disk 1 S1, that is perfectly fine. Let's go ahead and say okay. And this is gonna take for, well, maybe not forever, but don't worry if it hangs in a single file. You see this one is 78 megabytes, so this is going to be longer, and then you're going to have another one which is 2000 megabytes, and that's going to take even longer. So just let it run, just let it run. You see this one is 2.8 thousand megabytes. Just let it run. It's going to be a while before it finishes. I don't know, go have a walk, cup of coffee, whatever. If you wanted to rename your Kali, you can go ahead and do disk. So this disk utility. Oh, come on, please, I'm running out of time. So during the formatting time, you can click on the erase, and then it's gonna then you can change the name here if you want. If you don't want it, you can leave it with untitled, so change it to whatever you want. Anyway, I'm gonna call the tutorial here, and then we're gonna come back when this is done.